all our viewers out there, and just for me, could you please introduce yourself? So your name, grade, major, if you're already in college, and then what field you want to pursue in the future, and a fun fact.
Sure. So my name is Lauren Williams. I am a junior at Creighton University. My major is computer science, and I hope to become a software engineer. And a fun fact about me is that I love to dance and bake.
So that's cool. Do you want to work in like startups or like corporations?
So
Or
I'll
what would that be?
graduate in May of 2020.
Mhm.
And as far as being a software engineer goes, I would prefer not to start off at working at startups just because some of the people that I have talked to, some of my mentors that have uh, worked at startups, that have kind of started off at startups, have given me
Mhm.
the advice of it's risky, and especially graduating college with student loans and things of that nature. It's great to start off at a medium-sized company or a large corporation to kind of build that foundation. And then maybe later on in my career, if I um, want to explore, then a startup would be the way to go.
So, how did you first get into STEM, and how has your experience been so far?
So I first got into STEM at the previous college I went to. So I'm a transfer student, and I started out at a community college in Dallas, Texas, which is where I'm originally from.
Mhm.
And I started out taking a few um, computer science classes. I first started taking Java
Mhm.
and web programming, and I was really interested in that.
Mhm.
And from that experience, I kind of had the idea of majoring in computer science.
Mhm.
And when I transferred to Creighton University in the fall of 2017, um, I really, the main computer science really kind of still stuck with me
Mhm.
as that being my possible major, and I officially declared it in the spring of 2018.
Okay, that's awesome. So, are you planning to do any internships this summer?
I actually have an interview on Friday, so I'm still kind of like in that process.
Mhm.
So hopefully I will have an internship by the summer. If not, then I am currently interning at my school. We call it the Rad Lab, but it's also like a tech lab. There are so many like virtual reality, augmented reality, um, and like graphic design and web projects here.
Mhm.
So if I don't end up getting an internship, then I can work here during the summer
Okay,
on a
that's
research
super cool,
project.
and good luck to you for your internship. I hope you
Hey,
get it.
yeah.
Um, so what do you do in your lab that you were talking about?
hmm so I'm a virtual reality intern, and I'm at the same time also a research intern.
Mhm.
Um, and I'm working on a photogrammetry project, and I'll explain that a little bit. But for my virtual reality project, I'm just kind of working on building different scenes in Sansar and Amazon Sumerian.
Mhm.
And those are just different virtual reality softwares.
Mhm.
And the whole goal of our project is to um, take different um, take different bees and put them in different environments and see if they survive. So that's the whole goal of our virtual reality project. So that's what I'm kind of working towards.
Mhm.
Um, mhm.
Yeah, so that like leads perfectly into my next question, which is, what projects have you worked on that really excite you? And you kind of briefly touched on a couple. Is there any others you want to share?
So one aspect of computer science and really STEM as a whole that I'm really interested in is mobile app development. So
Mhm.
last summer I attended Make School's Summer Academy, and Make School is an accelerated computer science school.
Mhm.
They used to have the Summer Academy. They are not going to offer it anymore. They
Mhm.
only have their product college. And their product college is a 2-year bachelor's degree program, and it's an applied. You would get an applied computer science degree.
Mhm.
Um, but I attended their summer program last summer, and I spent 6 weeks learning how to make iPhone apps. And so by the end of the 6 weeks, I coded, launched, and designed my own iPhone app. So I have my own iPhone app in the App Store.
Oh, wow.
So ever since then, I've been really interested in mobile app development, and I'm currently in a mobile app development class at my university. So
That's awesome. I actually applied to make school, and I'm not going there, but I decided to apply and I got in, and I feel like their program's really cool. They're like accelerated boot camp. I feel like
mm-hmm.
it's a little risky, like because that's your degree. But like their
Yeah.
summer academy sounded super cool, but by the time I was like considering it, it was too late.
Oh,
Yeah,
okay.
there's a lot of like great summer programs out there, especially for girls, such as Code
Right.
and Girls Who Code. Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
So yeah, that's awesome. Okay. How do you hope to make an impact in your field through the causes that motivate you?
Oof, that's a good question. I think just to inspire other girls, um, and specifically other girls of color to pursue STEM, even though there are not that many of us in the field. I think a lot of times we can be intimidated by the numbers, and the statistics of how many women are not in STEM and how many women are 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 not at a certain level in so many companies. But I feel like we should just kind of use that as a drive. And so hopefully in my career, I hope to inspire other girls to pursue STEM, even though it can be challenging, it can be intimidating, and to not allow anyone to make you feel like you don't belong in STEM. So,
Yeah, that's really amazing, especially first of all being a woman in tech, already a minority, and then being a woman
yeah.
of color in tech. That's especially challenging to navigate, and seeing like through interviews like this or through other programs, seeing people that look like you going into the tech industry and learning computer science. I think that's really amazing. And it's awesome that I got a chance to talk to you about it. So yeah, that's cool.
Yeah.
Um, do you say you had like a turning point in your life where you realized something or it changed your life for the better?
Yeah, I guess I would say not a turning point. I guess I kind of always thought this, but I guess it kind of just like hit more home for me. So I read a Medium article that was published on my birthday. But when I read it, I didn't read it on my birthday. Um, and the female who published the article was a product manager at Google, and she was writing about her experience in Silicon Valley and being in Silicon Valley because she was leaving. And even though she had been born and raised there, she grew up there and went to college there, and she was working at Google. She felt like the environment of Silicon Valley was more about getting people to buy a product and to click a button than doing social good in society. And so just reading her article kind of like, I guess, woke me up in a sense of like, oh, wow, like there are, like, she was actually working in Google and she felt like there were people in Silicon Valley who were not like practicing what they preached and who were not doing things to benefit others because she was I remember she said in her article that when people tried to bring up like social issues or like doing things for the social benefit of people, people would like stay silent at work. And that was like very shocking to me, because I just thought that like everybody would want to talk about those things. She said that people would be more interested in working their way up in a company than talking about social issues or social good or something like that. So I guess that would be kind of like a turning point slash like a big moment for me, in my life in like tech. And ever since then, I feel like I've kind of been focused on like doing how I can focus my career on doing more social good for others instead of just like benefiting myself, if that makes sense.
Yeah, definitely. Like,
Yeah.
I think it's important to talk about these issues at work, especially because the tech industry is where the change needs to happen in one aspect of social change where we need more diversity and inclusion in tech.
Yeah.
So I know companies are trying to make a change in the Silicon Valley, so I hope that it's coming along. Like recently, even at Google, like I attended Tech Day, which is to like encourage more young people to go into computer science. Like Googlers like spend 20% of their time dedicated to like a cause they believe in. So I guess there's
Mm-hmm.
some progress happening, and I really appreciate that. But there's always more that can be done. So yeah, thanks for bringing that out. Do you have like a best conversation that you've ever had, or some just advice that you've heard that really was meaningful to you, or shaped you in some way?
I guess a couple. I guess one would be to just trust yourself and trust your instincts. Um, don't second guess yourself. That's like one thing that I really struggle with.
Mm-hmm.
And then I guess one thing that I kind of learned from being in San Francisco for 6 weeks, and looking back on my experience at Make School, because the first day of Make School, um, they had a presentation and they were talking about the environment that they wanted to set for us that was very focused on being inclusive for all, um, and kind of helping each of us eliminate imposter syndrome, which
Mm-hmm.
is which I feel like everyone struggles with, and what I definitely struggle with. And so a lot of people have given me advice for that. So um, just knowing that everyone struggles and that it's okay to ask for help. And that's probably one of the best advice that I've been given, but I think it's really hard to also like put in action too. So
A lot of people said like something they struggle with is like asking questions and not making themselves like look dumb. And I just
yeah,
feel like asking questions is so important because most of the time the question that you are thinking of yourself is something somebody else might be confused about as well. Everybody's just
right,
scared that they don't want to look dumb. But I'm the type of
right.
person who will just ask the questions because at the end of the day, if I don't get the stuff, like what's the point anyway? So yeah, that's great.
Right.
Um, are there any struggles you've had being a female in STEM or a woman of color in STEM? And if you have had any and you've gone through them, what
Mhm.
advice would you have for girls that are going through the same struggle, like you talked about syndrome or anything like that?
So kind of like I already said, the first thing is never be afraid to ask for help.
Mm-hmm.
And I've definitely experienced like imposter syndrome in my school, in my classroom, being a woman and then being the only woman of color in the room, and in being the only woman of color in my computer science classes, because at my university, it's my major is within a liberal arts school, so we don't have an engineering school. Our computer science department is very, very small, so there's only really about 15 people in my classes at most, which is great because I get more one-on-one time with my professor, but at the same time, asking questions is kind of intimidating, at the same time. So sometimes I do get like, oh, a little bit imposter syndrome when I have a question and I don't want to speak up and like raise my hand or something. And then I think a lot of times being the only woman in the room or being the one of the many few in the room, we're kind of afraid to have the spotlight on us, especially if we're afraid to make a mistake. But I would also encourage women to not be afraid to make a mistake because that's how you learn. And I feel like we're kind of not like taught that it's okay to make mistakes because that's how you learn.
Yeah, a lot of women have this fake idea of like perfection and
Right.
perfectionism, and I've definitely like fallen into that trap myself of things being perfect, I being perfect, all that stuff. But I think
Yeah.
it's important to remember, just as people, that we're not perfect and we're gonna make mistakes, and that's like basically the only way to learn. So, yeah.
Yeah.
Um, what's the most interesting thing about you that we wouldn't learn from your resume alone?
I feel like I'm a pretty deep person. Like the questions that you're asking are like really, really good. Like these are like conversations that I would like have with my friends.
Mhm.
And that's really, really hard to get like across on a resume. Um, and so yeah, that's what I would say.
Yeah, awesome. Okay, so to wrap this up, what advice do you have for a girl looking to start in this field?
I would say before you sign up for a college class and pay hundreds of dollars or thousands of dollars, look up YouTube tutorials and Google search because that would probably save you a lot more time and money. Um, so yeah, that's the one thing that I would tell you. And check out a lot of forums on Google. There's so many
Mm-hmm.
more forums and communities for women and for women of color who are interested in computer science or who are interested in STEM.
Mm-hmm.
And like reach out and join those communities because I didn't even know about Built by Girls until I went to the summer academy at Make School, and one of the friends that I made through that program told me about Built by Girls. Um, so I would say just don't be afraid to reach out and be the first to speak up, and then use Google search. It
Yeah,
will help
that's
you.
great advice, especially as a coder. Like Google is your best friend.
Yes.
Um, and also for all the people watching, like we always have resources linked down below. So Code with Clossy, built by girls. Um, yeah, and you like some we have some summer programs from previous interviews we've had. So definitely check out the description below. Yeah, and with that, thank you so much, Lauren, for joining us today.
No
Um,
problem. Thanks for having me.